Today, we will provide insight into how the schedule booking configuration works for both users and drivers. To start, click on the Settings button. On the left side of the menu, you will find the option titled Extension. When you select this, you will see an option called Schedule Booking. By clicking on the Settings button of the scheduled booking, the schedule configurations will open. Here, you will find the trip start window and the maximum scheduled window. The first is the start window, where an admin can define the minimum window of time that should be there. If you select the time unit, the system will automatically set the limit from the current time to 10 minutes in advance. This means that customers must schedule their trip at least 10 minutes in advance. The maximum window allows customers to schedule a trip up to 7 days in advance. They can select any date and time within this window to schedule their trip. Next, we move on to the scheduled trip notification for the driver. If this configuration is enabled, the booking reminder for the driver will be set. Here, an admin can decide how much time before the trip the driver should receive a reminder from the system. If you have selected 10 minutes, the system will send a scheduled booking reminder to the driver 10 minutes before the trip time. If this feature is disabled, drivers will not receive any reminders from the system. Next, we have the booking reminder for the customer. If you have selected a specific time, the system will send a reminder to the customer for their scheduled trip based on that selected time. The next configuration is the scheduled trip start window. Based on the defined minutes, the driver can start the trip in advance to ensure they arrive at the pickup location on time. For example, if you select 16 minutes and a customer has scheduled a trip for 3 p.m., the driver can start the trip at 2:44 p.m. to ensure they are on time. Finally, we have the broadcast trip. If this configuration is disabled, the driver will not receive any broadcast trips. If enabled, the admin can decide how much time in advance a driver should receive a reminder for a scheduled trip. If this configuration is disabled, there will be no reminder for the drivers. If the driver does not start the trip, it will remain in their account. When the broadcast trip configuration is enabled, the system will send a reminder if the driver is ready to accept the trip or pick up the ride. The driver will then be directly redirected to the trip. If they are occupied, offline, or refuse to start the trip request will be sent to another driver. This ensures that the customer will get their ride as they have scheduled the trip in advance. The reminder can be delivered before or after the scheduled trip time based on the configuration defined by the admin. For example, if a trip is scheduled for 3 p.m. and the admin has set a 5-minute reminder, the system will send a reminder to the driver who accepted the trip at 2:55 p.m. If the driver accepts, they will be redirected to the trip. If they reject the trip, the request will be sent to the next available driver within the pickup radius. The second last configuration is driver confirmation. If enabled, the admin can send a scheduled trip request to the driver, who then has the chance to accept or reject the trip. If disabled, the trip will be directly assigned to the driver and they will not have the option to reject the trip. Lastly, the visible only in the pickup radius configuration. When a customer schedules a trip and this configuration is enabled, the system will check the pickup radius set by the admin. If disabled, all drivers will be able to see the scheduled trip. Based on this, the system will operate effectively for scheduled trip reminders. These reminders will be sent to both the driver and the customer. This way, customers can ensure they get their rides on time for their pre-scheduled trips. Additionally, the driver will be kept updated by the system through the scheduled trip configuration.